Debt is bad. That's what we're told. That's what we're brought up to believe. We shouldn't get into debt. However, there's a difference between good debt and bad debt, and that's what I'm going to explore in this property education video and explain how you can use debt to become wealthy. Might sound a bit controversial, but that's exactly what all wealthy people do. They all use debt in the correct way. So my name's Simon Zutshi. I've been investing in property for almost 30 years. And in this property education video, I'm going to share with you why debt can be a good thing. So most of us are brought up to believe that debt is a bad thing. And certainly if you're spending more money than you earn every single month and you're putting that money onto credit cards and it's to pay for holidays and lifestyle and clothes, etc., that is not a good situation to be in, because that's buying assets which are going to depreciate in value. However, if you use debt to buy assets, and an asset is something that puts money into your pocket, then that is a very smart thing to do, and that's what all wealthy people do. If you haven't read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I highly recommend you read that book because it does a great job of explaining the difference between bad debt and good debt. Most people just spend money they don't have, they put it onto a credit card, and that is definitely bad debt because you're paying interest on something. And here's the thing, if you put something onto a credit card, like a holiday for example, and you say, well, I'm just going to pay it off monthly, you're actually paying a lot more for that holiday because you're paying the capital and also the interest as well than if you just paid for the holiday outright. So some people believe, and it's quite an old-fashioned view, but I understand it, you should only buy things when you can afford them. Some people think you should save up when you've got enough money to go on holiday, that's when you go on holiday. And whilst I agree that is a sensible thing, the problem is people take that thinking and then bring it into the world of property investing. So in property investing, obviously we use debt. We get mortgages from mortgage companies in order to buy property. Now let's make a quick comparison about the difference between you buying property for cash and you buying property using debt. Now first of all, a lot of people don't have a lot of money in their accounts, in their bank accounts, so they don't think they can actually invest in property. And there are lots of creative ways of investing using very little of your own money. But just for the purpose of this video, let's assume you are using some of your own cash. Now let's say you have an inheritance, or you've sold some cryptocurrency, or you've sold a business, or got some redundancy, and you've got £200,000 to invest. You could go and buy one property for £200,000 and have no mortgage at all. And a lot of people like the idea of having no mortgage because a mortgage is seen as a debt. And when you think about homeowners are trying to pay down the debt on their own property, so eventually have no mortgage. Because when you eventually retire, your mortgage company is going to think, well, how are you going to afford to pay this mortgage when you're retired? That's why most people think they have to pay debt down. And so they take that concept and they use it in property investing. So if you buy a £200,000 property for cash, you get all that rental income coming in, fantastic. Now that property over time will go up in value. Remember, property prices don't always go up. We live in a cyclical market, prices go up and they come down. But the long-term trend in the UK is property prices go up because we live on an island with a limited amount of accommodation and an increasing population. So over the long term, property prices and rents also go up. So it's one property you bought for £200,000 cash. In 10 years, the value of that property could double from £200,000 up to £400,000. In other words, you've got a 100% return on investment. You put £200,000 in, the property's double in value to 400, so you've got an extra 200,000 of profit just for buying that property, sitting back and waiting. That's one of the amazing things about property. You work once, get paid forever. Let me say that again. You work once, get paid forever. Because once you bought that one property, you get the rental income coming in every month, you get the long-term capital growth as well. Now, you don't have to manage the property if you don't want to. You can pay someone else to do that for you, and you just give them some of the rental income, typically 10 or 12% of the income that comes in. So that's if we buy one property. Now, let's say instead of buying that one property for cash, we take that £200,000 of cash and we break it into smaller chunks of, let's say, £50,000. So we'd have 4 chunks of £50,000. And using each of those chunks, we could buy an investment property with the help of some debt, with a mortgage on each property. So when you get an investment property, you might get a buy-to-let mortgage. You're not living there, you're renting it out. And the whole point is the rental income from the tenants is more than enough to cover the cost of that borrowing and hopefully give you a profit as well. So we buy 4 properties at £200,000 each. We put in a 25% deposit, which is typically how much you put in, and we get a 75% loan to value mortgage. So that would be 4 mortgages of £150,000, £600,000 worth of debt. Now that might sound quite scary, and most people would not want to get into that much debt. But remember, this is good debt. This is not bad debt, this is good debt. This is debt that's going to make you money. So each of those properties produce an income to cover the rent and give you a profit, and in the long term, those property prices go up as well. So let's say in that time frame, the property prices double from 200 up to £400,000. So they've had a 100% increase, just like the other property that you bought cash. However, these 4 rental properties, because remember, you split that £200,000 across 4 properties, using £50,000 deposit in each. Well, you've got 4 properties that have doubled in value from £200,000 up to £400,000. So your total portfolio is suddenly worth £1.6 million. Now think about that. Would you rather have £1.6 million of property by buying 4 properties, or in the same time period have just 1 property that goes up to £400,000? I'm pretty sure you'd rather have the £1.6 million portfolio. Now remember, you've still got those mortgages, those buy-to-let mortgages of £600,000 in total, 4 times 150. And remember, the tenants are paying the cost of those. But because the value of those properties have all gone up over time, from 200 to 400, £1.6 million portfolio with only £600,000 of debt means you've got £1 million worth of equity. I want you to think about that for a minute. How long would it take you or the average person to save £1 million? For most people, it's never going to happen. But in this example, all you had to do was buy 4 investment properties. 4 properties, you sat back and waited for values to go up over time. And remember, prices don't always go up, they go up and they go down, but on average, over the last 60 years, pretty much most properties have doubled every 10 years. So therefore, hopefully you can see now how using debt responsibly, good debt, can allow that value to go up. Now, here's the amazing thing. When you pay those mortgages back, and remember, you borrowed £150,000 to buy a £200,000 property, you only put 25% in, the bank put 75% in, and because you've been paying them interest on their money for the last 10 years, you could sell that property. Now, the property is now worth £400,000, and remember, you bought it for £200,000, you've got £200,000 of profit there. How much of that profit do you have to give to the bank, who put 75% of the money in? Well, you don't have to give any profit to the bank because they've been receiving their interest throughout that 10-year period. So in other words, once you pay the bank back, all of that profit is yours. That is a pretty good deal, I'm sure you would agree. And on each of those properties, which have gone up 100%, because you've only put 25% of your money in, and yet then you've had 200,000 of growth, what it actually means, your return on investment is 400%. Think about it, you put 50,000 in, you've got 200,000 profit, that's a 400% return on investment instead of just a 100% return where you bought a property for cash and it's doubled in value over the same time period. So this is why debt can be very good for us. If you want to be a successful property investor, you have to understand how to use debt. It's what we call leverage. In my book, Property Magic, I talk about leveraging other people's time, money, and experience. You don't need to do this all on your own. We've been talking about using debt to leverage someone else's money. Well, you can get other people to find properties for you. That's leveraging other people's time. And you can learn how to become a successful investor the smart way by educating yourself, by investing in yourself, rather than learning the hard way, which is what I did. It took me 8 years to replace my income because I was doing it on my own. There were no YouTube channels. There were no podcasts. I was literally learning the hard way through trial and terror, making mistakes. Now, I did okay because I managed to replace my income in 8 years, but many of our students do it in less than a year. So I really would encourage you, if you're thinking about, okay, I see I can do really well in property, how do I do this? maybe you should speak to one of my team to find out how we can accelerate your property investing journey. There's going to be a link below here. You can click on a link, you can fill in a small questionnaire and book a call with one of my team, no obligation, to find out how we might be able to help you. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button, come and comment below, and also make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to make sure you're notified anytime we bring out a new video. Until next time, remember to always invest with knowledge, invest with skill.